A very good night to you, and a big warm welcome to the final night of our diocesan mission, moving forward in hope. Céad Míle Fáilte. At this stage of the week, you're probably very familiar with the mission schedule. And if you've missed any of the talks or reflections, you can look back at them on dioceseofkerry.ie or on our diocesan YouTube channel. So I'm absolutely delighted that you could give this time and spend the night with us now. The format of the night is our special guest gives an input for about 20 minutes. That's followed by a transition piece of music and then your questions. So please don't be shy. If you look to the bottom of the monitor, you'll see a Q&A icon there. And if you put in a question at any stage during the night, we'd be delighted to get them. We mightn't get to all the questions, but we'll get to a few of them. Tomás Kenny is working in the background and he'll bring those questions back to us after the piece of music. So we would absolutely love your participation and have been delighted with your participation and the participations from thousands of people over the last few days. On to our special guest. Tonight, our special guest is Miriam Kerins Hussey. Miriam, with her husband Jerry, founded Soul Space a number of years ago. Now, in the diocese, we know Jerry Hussey because he's been here a few times doing work with religious education teachers and principals, and he's been a great hit. He's a friend of Tomás Kenny, as is Miriam. So back to Miriam. Miriam's work is all about awakening our inner potential, and we're all dying for that. She runs and she offers mind, body, and soul programs. She started out as a pharmacist and moved to that, but has maintained that knowledge and information into being an integrative health coach. So she combines her medical knowledge and her medical background with lifestyle changes that can bring about health and well-being. She linked with us here in the diocese as well to young people quite recently to our Instagram youth doc account, where she did some work with young people on mental health and leap of faith. So we're absolutely delighted to have Miriam with us tonight. She's a mother herself. They have a little boy, Elijah. She's talking to us from her new home of a week or two in Dunleary. And her theme is embracing life. So over to you, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Mary, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you to everybody who is joining with us live tonight, and for those that may potentially watch this back at a later time. First and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this amazing week. The schedule has been absolutely fantastic. I was looking through the brochure, and it really, really is so powerful to see what you were doing to really help people transition and change, and I suppose find inner ease and grace and peace in their lives, especially at this time in our world where things have been a little bit uncertain and a little bit shaky. So I'm delighted to be part of this lineup and to be here with you all tonight to share what I hope will resonate with you all. And I hope by the end of our session tonight that you will be able to come away with some very practical lifestyle tips and changes, or moments of insights or inspiration that can allow you to, I suppose, have that element of embracing life to the fullest. So that is the theme, or that's the topic of tonight. It's about embracing life and how we can go about doing that in our own personal worlds. So as Mary mentioned, my background is in pharmacy. I spent 10 years working as a community pharmacist in Ireland, and really looking at, I suppose, frontline, meeting people every single day, communicating with people, getting to know people, getting to know what was going on in their world and their lifestyle. And from that, I learned so much about our health, our well-being, and unfortunately what happens when our health is taken away from us. And it really got me to ask bigger questions about myself and my life and my purpose and my passion and what it is I want to do with my own world and my own life, and how I can be of service to the world, because I truly believe the deepest element or essence of why we're all here is because we have a gift. We have unique talents. We have unique, amazing light and beauty that we can shine to the world, and that we can make this place that we live in a better place. So from my dealings with the world of pharmacy, I started to, I suppose, ask bigger questions and look at how we can start to live our life in a more holistic and a more integrative way. Look beyond treating the symptom, look beyond, a pill for every ill sensation, and look at how we can nourish ourselves on this holistic, bigger picture approach, nourishing not just our physical body, but beyond that, into the essence and the soul, who we are, why we're here, and looking at our mind. So looking at that mind, body, soul connection, mental, emotion, spiritual, and how all of those elements and components to who we are have a huge impact on nourishing ourselves in this holistic and integrated way. So tonight, as I mentioned, the topic is on embracing life. And for me, as I mentioned, I had to ask myself bigger questions. And for me, I decided to transition out of pharmacy predominantly and into a more world where I would go out and speak about our health and our well-being, speak about soulful living, speak about how we can prevent ourselves from potentially needing all of these tablets in the future. So looking at a proactive and a preventative way of managing our lifestyle. And this looks at all the elements to what you do on a daily basis. So it's looking at your thoughts, it's looking at your emotions, it's looking at your food and your nutrition and your hydration. It's looking at your relationships. Are you in relationships that are nourishing you, are inspiring, are loving? It's looking at things like stress and sleep. And it's looking at how we mind and nurture ourselves, that sense of how we go after our dreams. Do we value ourselves? Do we respect and have reverence for ourselves and our needs and our desires? And I think it's truly about having that sense of soulful living, having joy in the heart. And ultimately, I think what we're all looking for in life is having inner ease and grace and a sense of peace and contentment in our world. So today I really want to look at that topic of embracing life. And I think we're always learning. It's always a journey. Life is not, this straight line of always been rosy. To be human is to experience all emotions. And it's to have the good days, the not so good, the joyful, the fun, the, beautiful, memorable days, along with the dark and challenging days. It's the ebb and flow of life. So to embrace life is to try and embrace all that it brings, good, bad, the perceived good, the perceived bad, but having a sense of trust or hope, having a sense of security and safety, having a sense of faith in yourself and the world and God really helps to anchor us as we embrace life. It helps us to really cherish the memorable days and the really joyful days. And it also helps us to be humble in the more challenging times. So I really want to use the word embrace today as an acronym. And I'm going to use that to take us through some, what I hope will be insightful and practical tips and advice that I hope will help you on your journey to embracing your one precious life. So the word embrace starts with the letter E. So E, I think, stands for, and it stands for enthusiasm. It stands for energy. It stands for, are you living a life where you are energetic, you're enthusiastic about what you do? What can you do every single day that can bring energy or vitality into your life? What can you do every single day that will bring a sense of enthusiasm or excitement into your world? So E also stands for excitement. And this is really where you're nurturing the soul. What do you love to do? What ignites your soul? What brings you joy? What brings a smile to your heart? What brings a smile to your eyes? And this doesn't have to be, massive adventurous things. These are tiny things that you can do every single day But when you do them, they really nurture that sense of excitement and energy and enthusiasm in your world. So for example, it might be just getting down on the floor and playing with your son or your daughter or your grandchild. It might be that sense of being present with them. It might be getting out in nature. It might be getting on the bike and going for a cycle. It might be jumping into the cold water in the sea and going for a swim. And when you do that, it just, brings this whole energy. It relights the light within you. It reignites that flame within. So E is really looking at how can you bring energy, enthusiasm, and excitement into your world. As we move through embrace, we're moving then on to the letter M. And M stands for magic. And this is really about seeing the magic and the blessings in the mundane. It's seeing the blessings within the ordinary things on a day-to-day basis, because it's really these small things every single day that can bring us most joy. It's those micro moments. It's that cup of tea with your loved ones. It's that cup of tea with your mom. It's that chat. It's that smell of home-cooked baking. It's that hug that you get from, your daughter or a friend or even your dog. It's that sunrise that just really brings that sense of inspiration and awe into your life. It's getting out in nature. It's watching the birds fly. It's really just finding and seeing those small things, the magic of nature. It's understanding and becoming grateful to the magic and the incredible brilliance of our bodies, thinking of what goes on beneath the surface every single day for us to keep us alive. It's thanking our heart for beating for you right now in this moment. It's thanking your lungs for allowing you to breathe and be alive. It's thanking your blood for flowing around the body. It's thanking every single cell for doing its job for you right now. So the more we can embrace and see the magic in the mundane, to see the blessings and to honor them in our day-to-day life, is the more that we flood the body with oxytocin, which is our love snuggle hormone, the hormone that makes us feel safe and secure, the hormone that makes us feel nurtured. The more that we do that is the more that floods our heart, opening our heart to the amazing emotions that lie within there, such as compassion and joy and forgiveness and love and empathy and patience and understanding, respect and reverence. And when we can do that and see that on a day-to-day basis within our own selves and within the world around us, it allows us to go forth into our day, having a sense of kindness, being kinder to ourselves, being kinder to the world, being kinder to our environment, and being kinder to those that we meet and our loved ones. As we move through embrace, we're moving on to the letter B, and B stands for taking breaks regularly. It stands for pausing and becoming present in our lives. It's looking at how we can become more present, more mindful, so that we can pause, so that we can really embrace and appreciate what we do have. It's becoming still so that we can hear the whispers of our soul. It's becoming still so that we can embrace the solitude, so that we can sit in the silence to hear the most noise, which is really your gut intuitive messages, the whispers of your soul, the emotions within your heart. I believe the soul speaks to us through the heart, through those emotions. And if we can allow ourselves minor or mini breaks throughout our day where you stop and take some slow, deep belly breaths, B also stands for the breath. It allows us to pause. It allows us to unplug from the busyness. It allows us to unplug from the noise of everybody else's world and opinions. And it allows us to go within so that we can hear our own voice, so that we can commune with God, so that we can pray, so that we can really sit in that stillness and be guided by God, by universe, whatever it is that you really plug into, that allows you then to stay on the path that is most aligned for you. So that brings me on to, as we're moving through, the next letter is R. And R is about reframing rest and recovery. Sometimes we think in this busy go, go, go world that we need to keep doing and going and getting things done. And we have to-do lists that are this long. And the more busy we are, we perceive to be the more productive we are. And that means we're more successful perhaps. But I think it's really important that we begin to reframe rest and recovery, and that we actually look at rest and recovery as essential to our success. Because if we're not resting and recovering regularly throughout our day, what's happening is it's going to tilt our nervous system into the red zone, which is the stress state, fight or flight, the sympathetic part of the nervous system, where stress hormones flood into our bloodstream. And they keep us kind of tied on that go, go, go hamster wheel of feeling stressed and feeling heightened energy. And what's happening is the more we're staying stuck in that cycle, is the more that we are actually causing more harm to our physical body in terms of our health and well-being, but also it's causing more conflict in the mind, more stress, more congestion. And that affects, of course, how we show up in the world and our mood and how we react. And it keeps us kind of hidden or locked in our comfort zone. It prevents us from going outside of our comfort zone, and it prevents us from taking those challenges, being courageous and going after what it is, really embracing that adventure or that whatever it is within your heart. But if you're in a state of stress or fear, you can't be in it. You can't have stress and fear and love at the same time. So really what we want to be doing is trying to rest and recover more regularly to get us out of that red zone or that stress side of the nervous system, kick us into the green side of the nervous system, which is called the parasympathetic. And this is where everything comes back into harmony, back into flow, and we begin to recalibrate the nervous system. When we do that more regularly through things like deep breathing, by simply taking 5 slow, deep belly breaths regularly throughout your day, that, believe it or not, can shift you like a light switch from the red zone of being stressed into the green zone of being calm and centered and more grounded. Other things that can really help to rebalance that nervous system is getting out in nature, moving the body, moving stress out of the body. Emotion is energy in motion, so it needs to be moved out. Even just taking a few stretches, even just going for a 5-minute walk, getting out in nature, things like grounding, earthing, taking your shoes and socks off and planting your feet on the ground, connecting, saying a prayer, meditating, journaling. All of these are really powerful tools that allow you to just let everything slow down, let everything come back to harmony, allow yourself to rest and repair. Try get to bed 15 minutes earlier. Try maybe take a nap in the middle of the day if you can. So these are things that say no more regularly to things that maybe aren't serving you. Are you a person that likes to people please and say yes all of the time? And you're giving and giving and giving, but you're giving to everybody else and potentially depleting yourself. So it's finding that fine balance between, yes, being of service, but also being of service to yourself. So you're not negating and not pushing away your own needs and desires. So OR stands for reframing rest and recovery, and knowing that it is essential actually for success. Because the more we rest and recover, the more we can perform better. The better parents we are, the better teachers the better we are in general at whatever we engage in our lives. A then stands for acceptance, appreciation, acknowledgement, and it also stands for alignment. So are we living a life that's in alignment with your true core values? What do you love to do? What brings you passion and joy and purpose and meaning? Are you living a life that is in alignment to your soul's calling? Why do you think you've been placed here? What do you believe is your mission? How do you believe you can be of service to the world? And is your job or your career, or maybe something that you're doing like volunteering in a charity, maybe it's helping out in the local community center, whatever it is, are you doing things, and have you hobbies and careers or things that you engage in that allow you to embrace life and embrace your soul, bring your soul to life? A also stands for accepting. I think the biggest pain and suffering that we experience in our world is when we resist what is. So it's about accepting. Accepting is not surrendering, or it's not giving up. It's not a failure. Accepting is allowing yourself to drop into a deep-seated space of trust. I trust this is happening for me, not to me. I trust that God has a greater plan, and this is unfolding exactly as it's meant to in this time, divine time. The more we can accept what's going on, even in the midst of challenge, is the greater that we can have hope and trust, and the greater it allows us to navigate and move through those challenging times. And generally what happens when you're in it, it's hard, and maybe you can't see the tree from the woods at that particular time, but we generally come out with more resilience, and we generally can look back and reflect on why that happened and what I learned from it, and how I grew in that process. As we move through the word embrace, we're moving on to the letter C. And C stands for courage and confidence. It also stands for connectivity and connection and community. So do you have a community, a sense of tribe, a sense of connection to people who you feel valued by, that you feel supported by, that you can feel you can be your authentic self? This might be, as I mentioned, a group of people. It might be a choir you're in. It might be your local swim group. It could be anybody. It might be your family of origin. It doesn't matter. But have you a sense of connectivity? We, have evolved, and down through the years, and, even thinking of the caveman and the cave woman, and, looking back at that sense of having a tribe, being connected. And we are human and social beings, and it's important that we have that eye-to-eye contact, that we have that human connectivity to, as I mentioned earlier, that releases serotonin, oxytocin, these powerful hormones that allow us to feel better, that allow us to feel more joy, feel more love, feel safe and secure. C, as I mentioned, also stands for courage and confidence. If you didn't have any doubts, if you didn't have fears, and you truly, truly backed yourself, and you truly were confident, and you were courageous, and you truly loved yourself with deep reverence and deep respect, what would you do? What would you start doing? What would you stop doing? What would you potentially tweak or change in your life? If you were to come to the end of your life and have no regrets, and you had a deep-seated sense of courage or confidence, hope and trust, what would you do? Your life matters, your dreams matter. So tonight is about embracing that. It's about giving yourself permission to unlock the gates of courage, shatter the barriers around the heart, and allow the true you to shine forth. Allow yourself to dream big, and allow yourself to embrace your precious life. The last one is E, and E stands for exit or releasing. What is it that you potentially would like to let go of or release so that you can be liberated to a life of freedom? Maybe it's a thought pattern, maybe it's an old way of being or thinking, maybe it's an old relationship, maybe it's something in the past that's still lingering, or maybe it's still kind of hovering over you. What's the conversation you maybe need to have? Do you need to forgive yourself or somebody else? What can you be free of so that you can release, so that you can create space to bring in the new? E also is looking at how we can engage and embrace the opportunities in our world. Each and every day we arise into a new dawn, a new day you have never lived before, a day you have been blessed with. So as you enter into your day, can you embrace the day and embrace all of the opportunities that lie before you? Put your hands open, be in a receptive position, honor yourself, give grace and gratitude to God, and enter your day with that open, receptive sense of awe and reverence for your life and your world, honoring the opportunities, honoring yourself, and embracing what you have within you and how you can bring that forth in the world around you, to those that you love, to the extended world, to our environment, to our animals, and truly so that you start to live a life where you have inner contentment and joy, inner peace and grace, and you start to live a life that is true and authentic and aligned for why you are here on this planet at this lifetime. I really, really hope that this has helped. And I hope that it gives you courage, confidence, and inspiration to go after your dreams, to listen to your heart, to follow those gut intuitive messages, to stay true to yourself, to use God as your guidance and your map, to use to trust in his direction and divine inspiration, and value yourself and your needs, because you do matter, your dreams matter. So I hope that you can embrace your one precious and beautiful life. Thank you.
Miriam, that is absolutely beautiful, and lots for us to think about there. Great challenge to ourselves and a lot of work to do. And you know, it's worth a second. I'd love to listen again and again and think about it and try and apply everything you've suggested. So thank you very much. While Tomas gathers your questions, we listen to a piece of music, McGraw, and it's performed here by two West Kerry men, Prunchies and Marcin O'Casig, and they're absolutely young men that I think really do embrace life and are very willing to say yes, because they did this music with us for the mission, and we appreciate it. So over to them, let's have a listen. And I should say that Prunchius and Marcin can be heard regularly singing in Dingle Church and Lespole Church. Welcome back, Tomas, and I hope you've got some questions for Miriam.
Thanks, Mary. Yes, yeah, plenty of great questions. So just to say thank you to Miriam. I love the way you broke down the word embrace. I mean, it really gives us something very concrete to go away with. Lots of inspirational points there. So thanks again. So question-wise, Miriam, the relationship between God and our faith. This comes up a lot, and a number of people have asked this, the relationship between God and our faith and religion, and mindfulness and meditation. Some people put them at polar opposites. So I like the way you mentioned nature and walking in nature. Some people feel they have to be in the church, physically in the church, to experience God. But would you have a take on that? Would you feel that mindfulness and meditation is a polar opposite to faith, or do they complement each other?
Great question, Tomas. And it's one actually that comes up quite often, quite regularly. And absolutely not. I believe there's an incredible synergy between the two, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think mindfulness has a tendency to be associated with Buddhism and a different type of maybe a religion. But really it's about being present with yourself and pausing and connecting to the deepest essence of yourself and to something greater than yourself. That sense of higher power, that sense of source energy, which is really ultimately God. So being mindful, mindfulness, really the definition of mindfulness is embracing all of your emotions without judging them. And I think the crossover I feel anyway is when you get out in nature. So whether you go to a church, you light a candle, you're going to a place of stillness and silence. Same can happen when you're out in nature. You're reconnecting with the elements. You're reconnecting with God's tapestry. When you're in nature, that is God's doing. We're looking at the incredible manifestation of God's work, the sunrise, the sunset, the oceans, nature, the trees. And really what you're doing is you're getting still, you're unplugging from the external world, and you're sitting in silence or solitude. Meditation is really where you're sitting and you're breathing. And I think meditation and prayer, there's a crossover for me, because every time I sit in meditation, I start with a prayer, and it's just bringing me to pause and become still. And really when I mean you're listening to the deepest essence of yourself, you're listening to the whispers of your soul, that's God's way of speaking to you. So when we become still and mindful, really, I would say, if you can't, I think it's a wonderful way of bringing prayer and God into your daily life even more regularly, because you can't get to the church every minute of every day. So where can you go? You can go out in nature all of the time. You can light a candle in your own home. You can, light some incense, or you can, whatever it is, and you can bring the church to your home, to these mindful moments. And that can allow you to really connect and bring that sense of reverence into your life on a more regular basis.
Thanks, Miriam. That's very helpful. Yeah. Another question, the best way to deal with negative emotions, which can be quite destructive in life. So what's the best way to deal with those?
Yeah, again, another really, really great question, and one that we all experience in our everyday life is, or not everyday life, but in our day-to-day living. If we're human, we're going to experience all emotions, perceived good, perceived bad, negative, positive. And I think it's important to know that there's no emotion that's right or wrong. Every emotion is simply an emotion. And the way that I think about it is, if there is an emotion there, like anger perhaps, or an irritation, or maybe a sadness, or a feeling of low energy, or whatever it is, something that we don't perceive as a good emotion. And often what we try to do is push it away, or resist it, or run from it, because we don't want to feel it, because it makes us feel uncomfortable. It's an uneasy and unearths things within us that we don't like. What I would say to people is, if that emotion is there, it is inside you. It has found a home in you right now. So it's there anyway. So the more that we ignore it and suppress it and deny it, is the more that it's like a child in a supermarket that starts a tantrum. And the more you just kind of ignore, or you kind of shun them and you give out to them, the more that they react and they respond and they get louder and louder. So what we have to do is actually befriend these emotions, not run for them, and say, okay, you're here for a reason. What are you trying to tell me? It's almost like the red flag shoots up, and it's your body's way of communicating with you, telling you that there's something in your lifestyle right now that's potentially out of balance or just not in alignment. So instead of shunning it away and suppressing it, it's to kind of sit into it and say, okay, you're here. Can I sit into it? Can I see you? Can I love you? Because the more that we show all emotions, love and compassion and befriend it, is the more that then it can move on and be transmuted and be released more easily. The more we resist it is the tighter the grip it has on you, and it almost gains more momentum and power over you. So what we want to do is kind of turn the light on it and say, okay, you're here. It's like the critters hiding in the basement. Sometimes they come up, but they need to be come up to be released. Otherwise they stay there and they have more power over us, or they keep us hidden in a kind of uneaseful state of living. So what I would say is when a negative emotion comes, trust that it's there for a reason, and it's showing up, or it's God's way potentially of showing you that something is maybe out of alignment right now in your life, that you've tipped the scales a bit too far one way. Maybe you're overdoing it. Maybe you're doing too much. Maybe the nervous system has gone out of balance and you're too much gone into that stress state. And the body is saying, Miriam, you know what, too much going on. You need to rest now. You need to pull back. You need to get to bed early tonight. You need to say no to that event. Whatever it is, it's just the body's way of telling you something maybe is out of alignment or not really serving you. So I would say it's a good thing. And if we can sit into it and embrace it and release it then in a healthy way. So what does that look like? It looks like moving it out. Maybe get it on the exercise bike, get out for a run, get out for a walk. Maybe breathe it out. Maybe you have a good cry and you release it that way. Maybe you write about it, you journal. Maybe you go to the church and you pray on it, So it's different ways, but moving it out, releasing it in a healthy way is key then to moving it on so that you can come back to having more peace and grace. So I hope that makes sense.
Thanks, Miriam. That's a great answer. Great. Thanks so much. A very honest question from one of our listeners. How do I embrace life while living with terminal cancer? Very honest question there.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you first and foremost for your question. And I think, as you can recall, when I went through the word embrace, the A was for acceptance. And I think, and nobody obviously can tell you what to do or, be in your shoes, because you're the only one walking that right now, and nobody can even, I can't even imagine what you might be feeling right now. We've all experienced, I suppose, different ways and different elements with cancer. I've had a sister go through it and a dad. So I think the biggest thing is, and as I mentioned in embracing, is accepting what is, because the more we resist something or resent something is the more that it causes a kind of tug of war internally, and the more that it causes us to have irritation or kind of resentments. So accepting what's going on, even though it's absolutely not what you want, it's potentially not what you ever expected. And this might seem difficult, and maybe you might not be there right now, and that's okay. But it's maybe asking, why has this happened for me as opposed to me? Why has God placed this in my path? Because I truly believe God places things in our path for a reason. And maybe he's chosen you so that you then will maybe go on and share your story with other people and help people through their journey of recovery. Maybe I really believe as well that God gives us what we can deal with at that moment. So maybe he's building your strength. Maybe he's teaching you something or trying to show you something about your incredible self. So I suppose only you can know that. But I suppose for me, I think if we can accept what's going on, even though it's very challenging and very stressful and not what we wanted, can we see maybe a silver lining, or can we embrace what it is with the best of our ability? And then take it one day at a time, one step at a time. I think sometimes life is just about putting one foot in front of the other and trying to come back to, as I mentioned, M was for the magic, come back to what is going well for you. Come back to the blessings that you do have. Come back to the people that you do have in your life that love you. Come back to the, you know, the incredible things that in your body that are still working really well for you. Your heart beating, your lungs, you know, so it's trying to put your energy and focus into the things that are going well, as opposed to putting your energy into the things that are not going as well as you want. So the more that we put our energy into what we want is the more that that can grow. So I suppose it's about trying to accept, and then also trying to have reverence and respect for yourself through the process and go easy on yourself, self-compassion, and then try to see the blessings in the things that are going well. And I hope that helps, and I'm sending you every best wishes and love and blessings for you in your recovery.
Thanks, Miriam, and a special thanks to that listener as well. And just our final question, Miriam, and I'm sure you have lots of recommendations here. Any favorite authors that you'd recommend, you know, that might help us to embrace life more, that we can take from this and take after this?
Yeah, I have many. Tomas, I'd be shocked if I didn't mention my husband, I suppose, who put out a book this year called Awaken Your Power Within. And, you know, a shameless plug.
It's okay.
It is a really, really powerful book. I think you've read it, Tomas, on how we can awaken our own infinite potential, how we can let go of limiting beliefs, and how we can start to really and ultimately embrace the life that we have through looking at things through our thought patterns, through looking at, you know, our mind-body connection, through looking at many things in our lives that can help shift and change and transform us. I also love Louise Hay, really, really powerful. She even has, you know, 101 Power Thoughts meditation on YouTube. I listen to that quite regularly. It's all about positive affirmations, helping to, you know, shift our thoughts into a more serving space for us. So I suppose there are two that come to my mind straight away. I'm drawing a blank now, but I'm sure there are. Yeah. If I turn my camera, you'll see all the books I have here. Yeah. But I those two anyway would be definitely a good starting place.
Yeah. Thanks, Miriam. They're powerful reflections, and it gives us lots of food for thought. So thanks again. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tomas.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Tomas. Thanks, Miriam. Thank you to everybody for sharing your questions. Really greatly appreciated. Miriam, we'll go back to you for a sentence or two, you know, your final message, even though there's been terrific clarity all night in your messages and in your suggestions, but your final words before we invite in Bishop Ray.
Thank you, Mary. My parting, I suppose, wish for us all is that we can make manifest the light within ourselves and shine that forward into the world, so that we can make this place that we live in, this world, a brighter place. That we can honor our heart, and that we can live from our heart, have more peace and compassion for ourselves and others, have more patience and kindness and reverence, and live from a space of authentic living where you honor your needs, honor your soul, and stay true to what you believe about yourself and the world. And I really think if we can shine our light a little bit brighter every day, and we often say in Soul Space, if we can light the light and welcome the weary traveler, because we will be both along the way in life. We will be the light bearer, and we'll also be the weary traveler. So if we can give what we can when our light is burning bright, do that. And when we are the weary traveler, when we're a little bit down and out, or we're going through challenging times, that we can put our hand up, that we can embrace our vulnerability, and that we can ask for help, knowing that we are worthy of that, and knowing that we deserve support and guidance.
Thank you so much, Miriam Hussey. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, we're coming towards the end of our mission. So I've asked Bishop Ray if he could help us conclude the mission tonight. So, Bishop Ray.
Thanks, Mary. And thanks to Miriam for her so encouraging and so uplifting talk tonight. Thanks indeed to all 4 speakers. Now, I hope everyone involved through all the different media, different social media, different channels, I hope everyone has enjoyed participating. I certainly have. You know, how quickly the 4 days pass. For me, it began when I said the 10 o'clock Mass on Radio Kerry on Sunday morning, say on this theme. You know that, and just to think, it's great to think of the unity of the 53 parishes throughout our 12 pastoral areas. You know, we're all together, united from all the 53 parishes, every corner of the diocese, Kerry and the parts of Cork. So I want to say a word of thanks. You know, it's good not to take these things for granted, to appreciate all that's involved. Thanks to the organisers. What wonderful work put into all the parts. How many different people were interviewed, how many different people were recorded playing their music, whatever. So thanks to all behind the scenes, all involved in organising it. Thanks to all who got involved, all the speakers. Thanks to all the guests. And, you know, where would it be if people hadn't joined in? You know, thanks to people who joined in the talks, equally all the other different parts that were available throughout the day. As I say, the numbers really make it worthwhile. So I think it is good just to pause and to say thanks. You know, just in terms of one single thought, since Christmas, one phrase has stuck with me, and it's from Peter McVerry. You know, it's a phrase he used to seek funds for his work, which is with the homeless and with people suffering from addiction. And the phrase is simply, live simply, share generously. Just think of that phrase. I'm sure Father Sean, who was with us the other night, in terms of climate change and biodiversity, would say live simply is vital for care of the planet. But live simply. You know, it's people and relationships that make us happy. So live simply, share. You know, share is a lovely word. When we share with others, hearts meet. You know, and to, you know, generous people are wonderful people. You know, that we envy them. It's when people share generously, it says something about the way they are within. It says something very positive about how they are. So just that phrase, live simply, share generously. And just, you know, who lived that most? Does it not fit perfectly to Jesus himself? You know, and we have that lovely phrase in the first communion, in the first confession, act of sorrow, help me to live like Jesus. So just that thought, you know, thank God for the mission. You know, please God, it means a lot to people. And please God too, that alongside Zoom and all these methods, we'll soon be able to gather fully in church again. Let's look forward to that. So thank God. God bless everyone. You know, God bless especially, you know, people who are finding life difficult at the moment. God bless them especially. So thanks to everyone. God bless everyone. And now back to you, Mary, for the final word.
Thank you very much, Bishop Ray. That's lovely, and for expressing that gratitude to everyone. I join in that, of course. Thank you very much for joining us every night of the mission. If you've missed talks or reflections, you can watch them back on dioceseofkerry.ie or on our diocesan YouTube channel. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you again. Good night from me, Mary Fagan, from Bishop Ray, from Tomás Kenny, from the broader mission team, and Fonnaghy Sloan.